You have neighbours, roughly 45 of them, scattered within about 17 light-years of the chair you are sitting in right now, and in your entire life you have never once knocked on a single one of their doors. Today, on Guess What I Found Out, we are knocking door to door through our own cosmic cul-de-sac. And stick around, because by the end of this video you will know exactly which of your neighbours is on fire, which one is dead, and which one turned out to be a ghost that a whole planet fell in love with. Of those roughly 45 suns out there in the dark, your naked eyes have only ever picked out about 9. The rest are just too dim to register. The cul-de-sac you live on is a cul-de-sac you have never actually seen, so let us fix that. For most of human history, nobody knew how far away any star actually was. That changed in the winter of 1837, when a relentlessly patient Prussian astronomer named Friedrich Bessel spent well over a year staring at one faint boring star called 61 Cygni, measuring its microscopic wobble as the Earth swung around the Sun. In 1838 he finally got a number about 10 light-years and became the first human being to ever know the honest distance to another star. Astronomer John Herschel later said the sounding line of the universe had finally touched bottom. Meanwhile, down at the Cape of Good Hope, a Scottish astronomer named Thomas Henderson had actually measured the distance to Alpha Centauri 5 years earlier, but he kept doubting his own numbers and sat on them. By the time he worked up the courage to publish, Bessel had beaten him by 2 months. The first map of the neighbourhood was almost his, lost to nothing but caution. Our ruler for all of this is the sun itself, sitting a tidy 8 light minutes away. Hang on to that number, because every other house on this street is measured in years, not minutes. The nearest one belongs to Proxima Centauri, a dim red coal too faint for any human eye to ever see, even though nothing in existence sits closer to us. It has at least 2 worlds, including Proxima b, roughly Earth-sized and technically inside the habitable zone. Confirmed in 2016, but do not pack yet because the landlord is violent. In 2019, astronomers watched Proxima erupt in a flare that made it 14,000 times brighter in ultraviolet light in a matter of seconds, the kind of tantrum that could strip 90% of an Earth-like atmosphere in 5 years flat. A Sirius plan called Breakthrough Starshot once hoped to send tiny laser-powered probes there. It has quietly been shelved, mostly unspent. Our fastest current spacecraft would need something like 75,000 years to make the trip. Quick favour, before we keep walking this street, tap subscribe now. It genuinely helps this tiny universe keep running. Right next door sits Barnard's star. Ancient, roughly 10 billion years old, more than twice the age of our own sun, and the fastest moving star in the entire sky, first caught racing across the heavens by astronomer E. Barnard back in 1916. This house has a genuinely heartbreaking history. In the 1960s, an astronomer announced planets there which turned out to be nothing but a flaw in his own telescope. In 2018, a super-Earth was announced, then quietly retracted a few years later. Finally, in 2024, a real world called Barnard B was confirmed, and by 2025 the count reached 4 small planets, the tiniest ever found this way. And just last month, a new study called All 4 Extremely Uninhabitable, Water-Poor, Airless and Roasting. One astronomer summed up the whole saga, saying, "Barnard's star is our cosmic neighbour, and we still know so little about it. It is also barreling toward us right now, and in about 11,800 years it will slide past and become our closest neighbour of all before wandering off into the dark forever." Next door is a house you can never see, Wolf 359, found only through photographic plates back in 1918. 3 out of every 4 stars in the galaxy are small red dwarfs exactly like it, and not one of them is bright enough for your bare eyes ever. Most of the galaxy is neighbours nobody has ever laid eyes on, which is probably why storytellers picked this exact star for the most famous fictional space battle ever filmed. So tell us in the comments, out of everything on this street so far, which house would you actually want to live on, and why? Because I genuinely want to see your reasoning. Now, the brightest house on the whole street, Sirius, has a body in it. Bessel predicted in 1844 that something invisible was tugging on it. He died without ever seeing it confirmed. In 1862, lensmaker Alvan Clark spotted the culprit, the first white dwarf ever seen by human eyes, the crushed corpse of a star that burned out long ago, now packing our sun's mass into a ball the size of Earth. Within our 17 light-year radius, there are 4 such corpses. For every 2 living stars your eyes can find up there, a dead one is hiding nearby that they cannot. Ross 128 is Karma, its planet. Ross 128b sitting right at the uninhabitable zone. In 2017, a strange radio pulse seemed to come from it, and for a week the world wondered. It was our own satellites echoing back at us. And here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. We do not even have a finished map of our own street. Teagarden's star, closer than several houses we already visited, was not discovered until 2003. Its world, Teagarden B, ranks among the most Earth-like planets ever found, though one study gives it barely a 3% chance of having any atmosphere at all. And Lumen 16, the third closest star system in all of existence, 2 failed stars called brown dwarfs orbiting each other, was not found until 2013. We walked right past it for the whole of human history. The tools are finally catching up, though. In 2024, astronomers took an actual photograph of a frigid gas giant circling Epsilon Indi, and later spotted water ice clouds drifting in its sky. And a red dwarf called YZ Ceti keeps sending out repeating radio bursts that may be the first sign of a small rocky planet with its own magnetic shield, the same kind of shield keeping our own air from drifting off into space. Which brings us to the saddest house of all, Gliese 581. In 2010, astronomers announced Gliese 581g, a true Earth-sized world sitting perfectly in the warm middle of the habitable zone. People named it, artists painted it, and then, gently, it dissolved, exposed as nothing but the star's own restless pulse. One astronomer put it bluntly, Gliese 581g does not exist. Back in 2008, before any of that heartbreak, we had already beamed 501 messages from 500,000 people toward that very star from a radio dish in Crimea. That signal arrives in 2029, less than 3 years from now, and it will knock on a door that was never really there. This whole walk kind of echoes what we found digging into type O positive blood last time. Another story about something ancient and half invisible quietly shaping who we are without ever announcing itself. If measuring things nobody could see is your thing, go watch the episode where we cracked open the universe's tape measure, because that one pairs perfectly with tonight. So there it is, your cul-de-sac, 45 suns, 9 you can actually see, 1 on fire, 4 dead, and at least 1 heartbroken ghost. If this made you look at the night sky differently, smash that like button and subscribe. It really does help. All right, that is a wrap on this one. Thank you for walking the whole street with me tonight. Drop your favourite house from the list down in the comments. See you there, Curious George.